And welcome. Here we are, podcast 1558, episode 3, not the white power sign. Don't want to offend Justin. Um, I'm Billy Truelove here with Matt Bird and Justin Herrera, just talking football, talking Chiefs, talking shit. And like I said, we're going to be doing this probably coming to you every week. We just want to talk about the things that we're not allowed to talk about all day during work. And something we really haven't had a chance to speak on very much is the draft class. Now that we've got them all signed, we've got everyone in. They've all reported to rookie OTAs, and now it's our time to break down what we like, what we don't know. I, for one, and I'll let you guys touch on this, was one of those people that was not jumping off the couch when Nick Bolton's name came across with that first pick of ours in the second round. Justin, were you feeling differently than I was?
I'm kind of on the exact same page as you. The big reason why is I'm always of the belief that those first 1, 2, or 3 picks need to be day one starters. If maybe the third can be like a second year kind of guy, but I'm looking to rounds 1 and 2 as day one starters. And I don't think Bolton's going to be that kind of guy. I think he's going to be a lot like my breakout player that I chose, like Willie Gay. And I think he's going to shine more his second year. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with him. And
yeah,
I think he's going to be good.
You. I think it's a very weird position for the Chiefs. What we've done with it over the past handful of seasons, especially really since Veach stepped in as GM. You know, that first big move was Anthony Hitchens, who, you know, it's not like he's bad. We made the move and went and got Reggie Ragland, which for a free agent grab like that, I believe that was just a free agent grab. I don't think we had to trade anything for Ragland. If so, it was a bag of nickels to somebody. That didn't really work out. So I don't get excited because there's never production from any of these guys that jumps off the screen like we had with Derek Johnson. And until that happens, it's just a boring position to me on this team. If Gay or Bolton become DJ, which I tend to think that Bolton might be that guy before Willie Gay. We'll see. I think Willie Gay's got some things. He's got some speed. He's got some coverage ability. But I really hope Bolton is that dude that can be Derek Johnson, who would fill a hole in a heartbeat and blow someone up. Those were the days. So we'll see. I'm not expecting anything out of him. And like you said, in the second round, I am expecting something from you. But it is what it is. What's up?
I think, honestly, though, to like kind of tie back into that, I think the exciting part about our linebacker, like our inside linebacking core, is going to be next year. Because you're going to have speed from Bolton and you're going to have speed from Willie Gay. And in today's NFL, it's how can you stop guys like a Travis Kelce? How can you know what I mean? It's all about creating mismatches. But if you've got that speed on the inside position, that'll give you a lot to be excited about. I just think for right now, with where it is, we're getting like Nick Bolton. I think he's great. Like I think he'll hit the hole exactly like you're talking about. Like he'll fill that gap to make that tackle. But I don't know if we're going to see as much of him as we'd like this year.
And I know that highlight's been circulating around of him blowing up that Tennessee quarterback or something, and that's cool. But it's the only thing going around. And then there's another one where he lights this dude up coming across the middle and he gets flagged for. It was a clean hit. I get it. But not like he's got this deep highlight reel either. But sure. I get it. He had a much higher grade than where we picked him most, on average. On the average mocks around the webs, he was going higher than that. So not that excited, very excited about Creed Humphrey. Getting him, him still being there at that point, he is who I thought we would take in the second round prior to the Orlando Brown Jr. trade. I thought if Creed Humphrey is there, you get the best center in the class. If you can get the best any position, the bottom of the second round outside of kicker, you probably want to take that shot. And just so happened to be a need for us as well. Matt, do you got anything on Creed that should excite everybody?
I think he'll be a day one starter. Each year when the draft comes around, what I'm looking for is instant impact. Who's going to make the impact the soonest? And I think that Creed Humphreys is that guy.
I agree. I was excited when we went and signed Austin Blythe, got him from LA, a dude that's played in 5 postseason games, has played in a Super Bowl, and then he just immediately goes down the depth chart when Creed Humphrey comes in. The dude is as smart as it gets. He's not the strongest dude. He's not going to just win a one-on-one with Aaron Donald, but he knows how to use his body and space about as well as anyone, and I think brains go a long way at that position, what's considered to be the easiest position on the offensive line, but a relationship with him and Patrick Mahomes is very important that we get something solid there.
And that's the thing, too, is that, what we're hoping for at this point in time is that in the second round, we just picked up like Peyton Manning's version of Jeff Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I think like he's going to like make that. Ideally, he fills that role. Him having like the wrestling background, I think is only something that's beneficial as somebody who wrestled in high school. You do learn a lot of different things from wrestling. So I do think that's going to be something that's just beneficial to him. That's not a bad thing. So I'm excited as hell to see him. And I think Matt's exactly right. I think he's going to be a day one starter.
And then after Creed Humphrey, who we got? Kane Doe?
Yeah, the defensive end.
I am more excited about him than Nick Bolton. It's a position that we know we need an upgrade at. And as much as I liked K-Pass, even though he had an inability to really make an impact, this is that guy who I think's got better experience, obviously, going to Florida State. And just the need will allow him to see the field. I think day one, he's not going to be a starter. I'm not saying that. I think Taco and Frank Clark are going to start at edge, but he'll certainly be on the field. He'll be getting reps because we're going to need someone fresh over there, and he's got those traits and that size to be what we hoped K-Pass was going to be. Am I missing the mark there, Justin, on Kane Doe?
So here's the exciting thing I think about Joshua Kane Doe that we're going to get more so than we got from like Tano Passanio. Tano Passanio looked great getting off the bus, right? He's like 6'7", like 260, right? You know what I mean? Like he was just a physical freak. And I still think you're getting that in Josh Kane Doe. We also forget though, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. So like that talent has like always been there. That's always been on the radar. Do I think Florida State got the best out of him? Florida State's been on the downfall for quite a while. I think since Jameis Winston, right? So I'm more excited about that pick after I started looking this guy up. I think he's going to be much more successful and have a much more memorable career with Kansas City than you would find with like Tano, who's now with the Saints. So,
and while we're on it, because I like to just kind of go all over the place, that defensive line, what I think has been a strength on this team, I guess it doesn't really show all the time, but it has been when you got Frank Clark and you got Chris Jones, and then you back that up. You've got Chris Jones, you've got Houston, you've got Holly. We've always had the right amount of names in there, but bringing in Reed from Seattle to put next to Chris Jones. I know I hear this is going to be easier to push Chris Jones outside, and that's cool and everything, but he's the second best in football at doing one thing, and I want him to get the best shot at that. Bringing Reed in from Seattle to line him up next to Chris Jones, I don't think it even matters who's on that other side. K-Pass could come do this if we're going to have a premier push in the middle of that line, which Chris Jones has been able to get alone. I really think this defensive line is going to be one of the better groups in football this year. It should be just off how much money is getting spent on that line between Frank Clark and Chris Jones. It needs to step up, and it needs to really pop off the screen this year. And I think as long as health is on our side with Reed and Jones, Reed and Jones are just gonna have big days in the days of the running game just kind of taking over against us, like we see in games against Oakland, Las Vegas, lines that were built like that. I think we will find a way to get through them, and certainly could have used Reed in that Super Bowl. Matt, I would imagine you got to feel kind of the same way on that.
I feel great about it. I think Reed could give us that push to give us a top 10 defense this year. Secondary is obviously loaded. D-line is looking good. If the young linebackers can show up and give us anything, then I think that could make us a top 10 defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this defense finally is going to. This is the year for this defense to not be the problem. It's always been the problem when Pat, and it's always going to be the problem as long as 15 is on the other side of the ball. That's going to be your bright spot. So now, though, you got Tyrann Mathieu back there and Thornhill doing their thing with a premier push on that line. Young corners benefit greatly from this, being able to not have to be in these positions on these one-on-one coverages or hanging out in the zone for 5 and 6 seconds. Not going to happen anymore. I'll get back to the draft class. Not that crazy. I'm excited for Cornell Powell. I don't really know what's going to happen with Noah Gray. I can't just list off a bunch of football players that have come from Duke and people been like, whoa, how do we miss that guy? Because it's we'll see. Justin, I mean, am I crazy? Am I wrong? Does this tight end have a shot? Does Patrick give him that shot?
I think he's going to benefit from playing with Pat. That's going to be the greatest thing for him. Now, I don't think we are going to see him on the field much at all. I can see it maybe being like a third down situation where you bring out 2 tight end sets. You've got 2 receiving tight ends. That's about it. He's when you look at him on when you look at any the photos from the Chiefs.com webpage. He looks small. I mean, and I say that as big as I am. He doesn't look like that big of a dude. He looks like he needs to put on NFL weight. And that's not to say you can't be skinnier and be fine, but at that tight end position.
Yeah. He was playing in college against a bunch of high school dropouts. So
yeah. You're gonna get popped at the line by NFL defensive linemen, and that's you're gonna have to, Kelsey's as good as he is for a reason. There's a lot of things that go with it, but I think, you're not going to see him on the field that much. It's
we'll
great.
Trust in Veach. I do think Veach gets a pass on things, and it's going to stay that way. It just and unless things get really bad, we're going to give him the slide on some day 3 tight end. But kind of how we think Kendo is going to get his opportunities just because of the names at that position. I think Cornell Powell is in the same boat because do we really think that this guy can't beat out Demarcus Robinson for some reps? I mean, Demarcus Robinson has just been on the team for this whole time.
He'll show flashes, and that's about it. And it's a flash once every 7 or 8 games.
And I'm sure he'll be able to do some things in practice to win reps from McCole. Damn it. Every day I wake up, I think about McCole Hardman, and I just get sick. I'm done with him. And what sucks, we got 2 more seasons. So he better really, I know this is Matt's breakout guy. He doesn't have a choice. He's got to break out this year. Or I don't even think there may not be a reason. I say there's no reason to see season 4 with him, but Demarcus Robinson's been sticking around because there's no one else to beat them. Powell will beat one of those guys out and be on this field, contributing much more than the Marcus Kemps of the world and things like that. It's not like he's going to get outsnapped by Marcus Kemp. Or who else is really got a shot to be out there? Sammy Watkins is really only giving up so many reps with him leaving that DeMarcus is probably going to fill the majority of those. And McCole is going to get his number called so much more because they have to figure this out. Are we going to keep playing this game with him or not? But I really like, there's a little bit of size with Powell. He's a guy that can, catch in traffic, which was a big problem in the Super Bowl, which a lot of things were wrong in the Super Bowl. But we make our money off separation.
Catches were a problem in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, everything was. And we do need that guy that can just hang in there, not going to outrun everybody, not going to get separated from everyone, but can count on it if it's in his range that he can make a play for it. So I'm super excited about Powell and super excited about Trey Smith from Tennessee. It's so weird that a medical issue can drop you this far, which the way it's been explained, he's on meds for these blood clots, and that's not a problem. How do you fall this far in the round and now start getting projected, by which I know all us Chiefs fans are geniuses, but people are talking about him starting on this team, and I get it, he is that good. But it is odd that he fell that far and is going to immediately contribute. I hope he does. That is an awesome pick that probably couldn't have waited much longer on. Someone was going to draft him. He wasn't going to go undrafted, and Brett Veach got it done. Overall, I love the draft, and I think that the Nick Bolton pick to me was just a little but at the same time, it was a free pick. That was just house money. That was Baltimore's pick. It makes sense to just throw a dart at the highest player you've got on the board right there. Nick Bolton certainly probably had to have been. I know Terrace Marshall Jr. was still there. People were, we're kind of hurting about that one.
that was the one, man. That was the one I was like, I don't want that to be our DK Metcalf times 2. You know what I mean? And maybe that's just like a fear of missing out. And I think that's obviously you shouldn't let that influence like your draft decisions. So kudos to Veach for not making that jump. But man, like if he ends up and he goes out and he lights it up on fire, he goes out and catches, he goes for 1,000 yards, and we're sitting here with McCole Hardman. Hopefully he improves. But now you're talking about 2 premier wide receivers that you've missed out on, and you had a golden opportunity. So
yeah, absolutely had the opportunity in these cases. But we'll see. We do have to trust in Veach. We got our ring that he played a humongous part in. So we'll see what happens. I do think that there's probably a ton of guys that we don't pay attention to that we passed on that just fail and fizzle out. And we always have to put an asterisk next to McCole Hardman's name and his draft pick when you think about what took place the night before. Out 1-2 hours before the first round started, when the Tyreek Hill phone calls dropped, the recordings of him and Crystal Espinal, things got shaky, and maybe it just showed with Brett Veach. There was still some inexperience there with him, and Tyreek Hill is a big void to fill if you're thinking you're losing him, and we had no reason to think that we weren't going to lose him. I thought he was going to not be a Chief by the end of that weekend. We don't even have to revisit that because that was a rough weekend. Do want to talk some offseason here. Obviously, not a whole lot going on, but something I was thinking about these past couple of days. Everyone's talking Julio Jones. Got a bunch of friends that, talking every day. Go make the trade. Go get Julio. And I think, I'm not huge on it. But then I started thinking at the effort or the how big of a swing was made for wide receivers such as Juju Smith-Schuster. We know that this team was ready to pay handsomely for a 1-year deal to get someone like him in, and we were not going to let Juju Smith-Schuster come in here, go for 1,000 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, and then let him walk. We would have signed him to a long-term deal if we got him in here. And there were a number of wide receivers that we talked to could not get it done. Cornell Powell is not the guy that they're like, well, we didn't get Juju Smith-Schuster, but we did get Cornell Powell on day 3 of the draft. So I guess it all worked out. I really think that there might be something going on, and that the Chiefs do make a move for Julio Jones because we know the effort they put into it in the offseason. Do either one of you, Matt, what do you think that do you think it's worth it? Obviously, there's money there, and you got to give up something. Is there anything that you wouldn't mind the Chiefs a package they put together to bring in Julio?
I would love it personally. I think that I would give up maybe a second rounder for him, as high as a second rounder. But this day and age of football, you got to load Pat up with weapons. And if you could have your number 2 receiver be Julio Jones behind Tyreek Hill, have him as your number 3 option behind Kelsey and Hill, I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust at that point.
And fight and really, as long as Julio's healthy, he's really fighting for wide receiver 1 looks. He could very well that definitely pushes Tyreek inside a lot more, where he's exceptional at. So it's it wouldn't be a bad thing moving Tyreek Hill inside. I think that would be awesome. And Justin, should we just get used to our first round pick being traded every year? If it's going to be at the bottom, what are we looking for down there if we can gain someone like Julio Jones?
I absolutely love trading the first round pick. I know that it doesn't. That sounds like blasphemous because your picks are that's your currency in the NFL, like pitching in baseball. But if you're trading a first round pick for a known commodity like an Orlando Brown or like a Frank Clark, now I'll say like Frank Clark hasn't quite
came
panned
in
out.
And got a ring.
Yeah, and like he had
that man.
He had the attitude, he had the swagger, he changed the defensive tone, and like that I think is invaluable. And you could just because you pick somebody in the first round doesn't mean that you're gonna hit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm a fan of that move. If you can make a trade like that for Julio, I don't know how it's gonna work. I've stopped pretending how to understand the salary cap. Like Julio Jones,
a fake number. It is a fake number.
It really is. Like Julio Jones, I think is $15 million against the cap this year. So if we trade him, we're going to take that on. I'm assuming. Looking at Kansas City's cap space, $7.875 million after signing the rookies. I don't know how you make it work. I don't know how the luxury taxes work. The more I try to understand it, the less I do. And that's seemingly the exact same for like everybody. No experts are like, yeah, the salary cap, I understand it. Nah. None of us
It
went to
is.
Harvard. We're not
Yeah.
manipulators of the cap, so I don't
Just,
get it.
yeah. It's a bunch of black magic.
But
And
I take it though. I take it in a heartbeat.
John
If you
Dorsey
get me,
couldn't figure
Julio.
it out either, so you're good.
he thought he knew it. He thought he knew it.
He's really good at spending money. Like that will say, like one thing is John Dorsey was absolutely phenomenal at spending money. Because he could build a roster. It's just what do you do afterwards? Like I remember I was at the Alamo Draft House. I don't think that's here anymore. But
yeah, downtown.
Okay, yeah. So I was at the
Downtown
Alamo Draft
Kansas
House.
City.
I get out of seeing like I think it was like Wonder Woman or something, and I find out that they released Jeremy Maclin through a voicemail, and I just like my world just came crashing to a halt because like I love Jeremy Maclin. I thought he was great.
Jeremy Maclin got cut off of by reading some girl's bio on Tinder.
Yeah.
And what? I couldn't believe how that went down.
And now we know why John Dorsey is no longer here, no longer in Cleveland. I don't know what he's doing right now.
God, wouldn't
Wearing
you
sweatshirts,
love to see? I hate to do this. I hate to think what if, but I would like to see Debo and Jeremy Maclin with Patrick Mahomes.
Everybody gave Dwayne Bowe so much crap, and I never understood why. Like that guy had like 4,000 yard seasons with the likes of Matt Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have loved to see. Like he had about as an effective. Like everyone's like he has this one route, but like it was about as effective as Keenan Allen running that exact same route. You know he was going to run about 5 yards. He was just going to slant right inside, and there were no answers for it.
No. There really wasn't.
And Jamal Charles. Oh, since we're on that topic.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. No, you can leave Tony Gonzalez off the field because we do have the upgraded version of that. How you like that? Yeah. I don't want to go down memory lane too much because it's a dark lane to go down. But yes, I'm with you. I think Julio Jones, that's really the only player I can think of, a big marquee move that could get made the rest of this offseason. The Melvin Ingram thing, I'm pretty sure he's still sitting out there. I don't think LA has tied things up with him. I heard someone talking about him playing for LA this year. I don't know. I don't really care if it happens. We drafted some edge. Willie Gay should be involved a little bit more. You know, anyone can rush. Anyone and everyone gets an opportunity at the quarterback on this defense. Just
Dirty Dan Sorensen.
L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed had more sacks than Frank Clark had, it seemed like, this year. He had a great season. And I do think that anyone's going to get their shot. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't think there's much else. I do think the core of this team is set and we're ready to roll. And I am so excited about that schedule. The more we talked about it, going through it, there's no long, dark path to go down that you think you could come out 0-3, unless you're super injured. I think the team gets to find little areas to relax on this schedule and inevitably be in Super Bowl 56. I don't think getting there is going to be as difficult as winning it. But, we'll certainly see. Let's, speaking of how to get there, if you're going to get to the Super Bowl, if you're going to get into the playoffs, you better take a good shot at your division. And that's something that we want to talk about when we're getting on here is, keeping our enemies close. I love to go online and find these people and make fun of them. Fans of the Raiders, fans of the Chargers, and certainly fans of the Broncos. Don't know what's really going on with them right now. If there is anything noteworthy, anything worth talking about, Matt, anything that the Chargers are doing in LA that the Chiefs should be concerned about?
Not really.
Nope.
I actually saw recently that ESPN had their post-draft power rankings. They had the Chargers 17th. Personally, I think that's probably a little too high. I probably have them closer to the top 10. But what do you guys think about that?
So you think 17's too
Too
low?
low, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is the time of year where we're all hearing that they're going to win the West, and now for some reason you got your superstar quarterback. I'm not hearing as much hype. Maybe it's just not close enough to August. I'm sure it will come, but I'm with you. I'm past the days of making fun of those predictions. I do think that is a top 10 team. The coach going in his first year, you got to kind of give them a little bit of slack on that. But that quarterback seems to be for real. I really hope he's not. God, I hope he's not. I hope that was a 1-year thing. Everyone figured it out. But man, size, poise, weapons. I mean, that roster is always pretty nice.
He can move too. Like
Yeah.
he's not Matt Schaub. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm.
so I think they have the answer. Like they got their answer for Pat.
Yeah. I gotcha. Moving over to Mountain Time, Justin, what is Denver doing other than
Imploding?
screwing
Oh
things
man.
up?
So here's the thing. All right. So I think this is gonna have a bigger sorry about that, y'all. I think it's gonna have a bigger impact. I think it's gonna have a bigger impact than we actually think it's going to with them releasing Juwan James, is that right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, working out away from the facility, gets cut for like hitting an injury. That sends a message to the rest of the NFL, whether it was right, wrong, you think the contract was justified or not. That still doesn't look good. I got a kid throwing a T-Rex at me right now. But like it doesn't look good when I'm like if I'm preparing for the season and I get hurt and then I get cut by this team, why would anybody want to go there? That's no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. Like
You're right.
that guy was doing his part.
That certainly is going to stir some things up in the league, and they do have issues at quarterback. I think they've given up on Drew Lock. I don't think they make this move for Teddy Bridgewater to come in and be a backup. The guy doesn't want to back up right now. He just looked okay in Carolina, so I think he's earned the opportunity to be on what I think is the most loaded roster in the AFC West. Everyone talks about how loaded our team is. I get it. It's pretty nice.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is so, and kind of just talking to a couple of friends who are fans of Denver. I mean, like right now, what they're doing is they're just splitting reps 50-50. And if you have two quarterbacks, you got no quarterbacks. That's just plain and simple. Now you're talking about both of these guys not getting the reps that they should. They need to just,
50% of the time is still enough time for Drew Lock to throw all the interceptions he needs.
It's a shit or get off the pot kind of thing. Like if you've got those guys splitting reps and you're bringing in Teddy Bridgewater and he ends up winning out the job, well, now you've just done a disservice to him by not giving him all those reps that he could have used with this loaded roster that they do have in Denver, because they do have a loaded roster.
Yeah, they're great. They are great in a lot of positions. So no more smoke and fire on the Aaron Rodgers front for Denver, or is that still kind of lingering around?
I mean, I've been kind of peeping on their SB Nation page, Mile High Report. There's still optimism that they can make something work, but they're gonna have to give up pieces. Like this loaded roster isn't gonna be as loaded of a roster if they want to get Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, Green Bay wants to get a quarterback in trade. Like if they're trading Aaron Rodgers, they want a quarterback back, which tells me that they are not a fan of Jordan Love.
Well, that kind of leads into we talked about Julio and these big moves and things like that. The Las Vegas Raiders are certainly a team that I still think is in the thick of things for Aaron Rodgers. I'm not as concerned of Aaron Rodgers playing in Las Vegas. That team isn't as close as Denver, but I do think they kind of have the heads up on this deal. Devontae Adams, you remember Devontae Adams played college ball with Carr. Carr would certainly be a part of that deal. doesn't. I mean, we play him twice a year. Maybe Green Bay just needs to turn on the tape a little bit more. But it could very well happen if you can package up a quarterback that Green Bay thinks is competent enough to at least come in and navigate through the Jordan Love origin years here. Maybe that is a deal gets done, and I would most certainly prefer that over Aaron Rodgers going to Denver. You said it. That team's loaded. I don't know what else that team is going to do. The strengths in Las Vegas were their O-line. They were super tough up front. They gave weaker pass rushes like Kansas City fits because Derek Carr could stand back there all day. You could run the ball. They kind of they let loose quite a few pieces on that O-line. Some important ones. You bring in Kenyon Drake, which I guess makes sense. Josh Jacobs is your bell cow guy, but he is injury prone somewhat. So it's a very young career he's had so far, but their backups still get roughly 100 touches a year. If their number one is down, their number two is getting fed. So Kenyon Drake is certainly a guy that they could be planning on Derek Carr throwing the ball many fewer times this year, because you got someone that could really start in some teams on a lot of rosters. Kenyon Drake could be that number one, and now he's going to be splitting time, but maybe that just means they're going to be running the ball a lot. That's all I got for the Raiders in the AFC West. I do think that we will win the West this year, as it stands right now. I don't know. I've seen a lot of Chiefs fans not excited about this O-line. That one of the most important things of an offensive line is time spent together, which is very true. In this offensive line we had last year, while it wasn't available at the end of the season, there were some guys on there that had been rocking with each other for a long time on this team, or a good enough time to really gel. This could be an O-line that doesn't get their shit together till week 7 or 8. And we'll see. I don't think it matters, frankly. I do think the schedule is set up in a way that we'll be able to win enough games early on in the season to be there at the end. And the extra game only helps that now. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this offensive line, with guys like Joe Thuney, I think that's going to shorten the time it takes to gel. You guys got anything else you want to touch on Chiefs-wise? I could talk all night, Chiefs, but unfortunately I don't have all night.
What you got, Matt?
I got nothing right now. I know you guys seemed that you're not super high on Noah Gray. I think we're going to see a lot of gimmick plays out of him this year. I think you'll see him in the H-back role. I think you're going to see him split out wide. I think you're going to see him split out in the slot. I'm high on him. He's
shit.
Hey, man, I'll take that.
I'm all for it. I think if there's just another body out there, a competent receiver out there, if he can even be that, which if they drafted him, certainly he can be. When you got Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill on the field, there is some green for you to find.
And Duke is in the ACC, so it's not like he was playing scrubs either.
True. I make fun of Duke, and I will continue to. But all right. Well, I think that's all for episode 3, guys. If you want to talk some shit, you know where to find us on Twitter. It's at 15FiftyEight, and on Facebook. Let us know if there's something you want to talk about, or something you want to argue about, or if you want to be made fun of. I'll do that. I'm Billy Truelove for Matt Bird and Justin Herrera. We are out. Holla.